Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, your best place to buy bullion, bars and coins, shipped to you worldwide from Melbourne in Australia, even if right now I'm quite a ways away from Melbourne. We've actually just landed in Berlin as a part of our trip to the World Money Fair, which is kind of a gathering of a variety of people in the bullion space from around the world, mints, accessory manufacturers, dealers, you name it. As a part of this trip, we wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. It's a process I've told people about in the shop, but not one I've actually done myself. It's an interesting advantage that non-pure coins might actually have over their pure counterparts, which I'd say are kind of less often preferred amongst the bullion stacker. Not in all cases, I'm generalizing, but a lot of people find them a bit odd. And the idea of them not being made of pure gold or silver can be a bit off-putting if you're starting out, fresh with all this kind of stuff. Before we get into any more details, I'm going to take a leaf out of Michael's book and preface this with the fact that this is not financial advice or travel or GST advice or anything. As I said, this was really more just an experiment to try and document the process, my experience with it, and maybe highlight the idea for a few people who hadn't really thought of it or considered it. All right, having gotten all that out of the way, just what is this experiment that I'm wanting to highlight? Well, first I need to introduce you to a coin I picked up before we left the country. It is a 1914 gold sovereign. It contains 0.2354 of an ounce of gold, and it should test through at around 91.7% pure. This means that it is not a pure bullion coin, and as such would incur GST if you tried to buy one of these from a dealer in Australia. But you have to remember specifically just what happened in 1914, and that being the assassination of the heir to the Austrian Empire, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and that, of course, starting the so-called Great War to end all wars that we now know as World War I. Sure, it's not as old as some of the ancient coins that you can see, and particularly in this part of the world, you can come across some very old coins and things, but it is remarkable to be holding a coin that is out of such an iconic time in history, and that's one of the remarkable things about sovereigns and coins, just like them, is the stories they tell. This one also has no mint mark, normally located just down the bottom there, which indicates that this was produced in London. We also have a king on the back here, not King Charles III or even the king before that, but King George V, who ruled from 1910 to his death in 1936. I won't go too much more into the history. I just recommend giving some of these older coins a thought when they're available in comparison to some of their modern, counterparts, purely for these glimpses into the past and some of the stories surrounding them. Now, as I said, because this coin is not pure, it incurs the GST in Australia when you purchase it. I'll be hiding some of the more private information on here, of course, but I figured I'd show you my invoice that I picked up from Bullion Now. And as you can see, I paid some tax on there that I normally wouldn't if I was buying just a normal pure bullion coin of some description. This, however, can be actually an advantage, though, when you're traveling, as you can get back the tax back in full when you're heading through the airport. Through the tourist refund scheme. This is located, at least in Melbourne, right after you've cleared border force and have scanned your passport. You keep heading to the right and we'll see a somewhat unassuming passage next to the product-filled walkway of tax-free items. Sadly, you aren't allowed to film within there. I've shot some things on the outside where I think it was fine, but yeah, anything in there was a big no-go. And so yeah, I figured I'd recount kind of my experience through there, even if I couldn't capture it on video. I was lucky that there wasn't a whole lot of people ahead of me, as even with that, it still would have taken a good 10-15 minutes of lining up, which is no worries if you're running on time and have plenty of leeway before your flight, but it's absolutely not something you can do if you're running to make your flight running a little bit late, as I can see it being a much longer wait at times. If you were running a little bit late or there was a lot of people on that same flight or looking to do the same thing. So yeah, somewhat ironically, there was signs everywhere saying absolutely under no circumstances are you to film in that room. No joke, do not do it. You aren't even allowed to use your phone camera. It was very specific and it told you about 3 times. However, they had a giant QR code at the front of the room which had some details about the scheme. Felt a little bit silly and contradictory to me, but you can pre-fill some of the paperwork online, but it wasn't a terribly long process once reaching the front of the line. So that's kind of up to you. They needed a couple of things from me: my passport, my boarding pass, and then they went through some of the specifics of what I needed. The item needs to have been purchased 60 days before you're leaving. They need the invoice to check this, as well as the physical item itself to verify it, so you have to be carrying both of these with you, as well as a card for them to transfer the funds back to you, as they do not do cash. Because they're verifying who actually bought it, the invoice can't be made out as a generic one, so far as I know. So I made sure it was under my name, which then obviously matched my passport. I was additionally asked to show that the invoice had been paid, which was quickly brought up through my banking app on my phone. I showed the man the 1914 gold sovereign, which prompted what I thought to be a hilarious question about, did anyone actually ever use these coins? To which I had to hold back a bit of a history lesson, besides quickly mentioning that we even used to use them in this country, way back when. Besides that, though, the entire process was fairly smooth. I was also asked if I was an overseas resident or an Australian, although either answer didn't appear to be an issue. He took my card and informed me that the funds would appear in my account within 2 weeks. Standard kind of government time there. Obviously, this is being filmed before they've landed in my account, but we'll just have to assume that the process has gone smoothly there as well. The idea now is to find someone willing to pay me spot price for this item in Berlin, or potentially in England, which I'll be visiting afterwards. Which I'd have to say would be more fitting considering the coin's origins, and assuming no major movements in spot price. I'll quickly flick up what spot was when I bought it. I've now transported between Australian dollars and euros or pounds without being reliant on the exchange rate of whatever I'm, able to get at the time. This obviously does still work with pure bars and coins without claiming the GST, but it's an interesting idea, and if I'm able to get anything over spot price for this item, then all the better, just because it's something a little bit more interesting. All in all, I found the process relatively simple, and I'd recommend giving it a try if you're traveling overseas and were able to pick up some bullion at a good price that was subject to GST. So long as you've got your name invoice sorted and enough time before your flight. The only challenge is to see if I can bear to part ways with my new English 1914 sovereign, which is always the risk of coins for me. But if I do, I'll be sure to show you how much I was able to get for it and what spot price has done in the meantime. I think that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you're wanting to check out more content of the upcoming World Money Fair here in Berlin. And please drop a comment about your own experiences with this or anything I've missed on this topic. It'd be great to see them down below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.